Hello, I want to introduce you to my new lathe. New to me, of course. This is obviously not a new lathe. In fact, if I understand, or if I've got the correct information on the serial number here, this lathe just had its 100th birthday. I believe it was born in 1921, and early in the year, because the serial numbers for that year started with 1405, and this is number 1406. So this being January of 2021, I believe this fella just turned 100 years old. And I have been looking for this type of lathe for quite a while. Very excited to have it. And there's a story about how I got it that I'll move to the end because I know a lot of people don't want to listen to that. But stick around if you want to hear it. For now, just wanted to show it in the condition it's in before I do anything to it. I was going to hold off on this because it's a bit embarrassing for me to have another project right now. For the people who know me, I have way too many projects, but I could not pass this up when it came along. So, and I know I'm not going to be able to help myself, but to try to start cleaning this and that on it. So I wanted to show it exactly the way it is right now. And I wanted to show this to Rob from the Zanudu channel because he was kind enough to make a video for me explaining how he built his power belt arrangement for his Schaublin, and really appreciated that. So I wanted to show him this is the project that I have in mind, and I'm going to copy that that design that he has, that he showed in order to drive this thing. I call this a toolmaker's lathe, but the definition for that is debatable. You might just call it a precision lathe. It has some features that are a certain type of lathe, and brands like Rivett, early Hardinge, the Schaublin like Rob has, and Emma from Emma's Spare Room Workshop have. Let's see, there are a number of companies, and I honestly hadn't actually heard of an Ames lathe before, but that's what this is. This is a BC Ames lathe. And the distinguishing characteristics of this type for me, you'll notice there's no drive for the carriage. So all of the work is to be done from moving the cross slide, and typically with these, the compound is extremely precise. It's a piece of jewelry, and that's that, and the very well ground spindle, the fact that it uses a collet closer exclusively. There's no other sort of chuck mounting mechanism up here. It's just a draw tube that you can put collets in, or fixtures that use a collet style backing. And that's so this 4-jaw. Actually, this is not the 4-jaw that Ames sold. This is where someone took a drive plate and used it to mount the 4-jaw. So this one is a Power Companion Tools that someone has put onto the drive plate that's made to go into this collet spindle. And what else is a distinguishing feature? Well, these old ones, they're belt driven, and but there are companies that still make these. The Schaublin still makes a lathe that works on very similar principles. I don't know if they've offer any kind of a difference in attaching options, or if it's still strictly a collet type arrangement. But so this is not something you're going to be doing production work or anything like that. It's just a nice, quiet, super precise, small operation type of lathe that I think would be fun to work with. So this is going to be a keeper. This is not something I'm going to fix up and sell. I'm going to fix it up and use it. So there's that serial number I was talking about. Hope that's coming through on the camera. And that's the raised letter. Looks to me as though someone has already done a paint job of sorts on this, so that means that actually gives me the green light to go ahead and strip it down and repaint it. I'm not going to be worried about trying to preserve some original finish. So that's actually kind of a relief to me. Now this collar right here is threaded on, and it contains ball bearings that act as the thrust bearing for the spindle on the front here. And I'm not sure what sort of mating surface is in the outboard end of the spindle. But this little arrangement right here, this little pole that catches here and keeps this from moving, I haven't seen that in any pictures of other lathes, so I think that's just something that somebody made to keep it from vibrating loose. And I don't see anything wrong with leaving it on there. The actual bearing surface inside of the head that holds the spindle is just plain cast iron, if my reading is correct. I have not disassembled it to verify that, but you know, it does have the oilers on top, so I believe that's probably the case. This little knob down here is how you loosen and tighten for the cross slide. One piece that's missing that I think will be one of the first things I fabricate for this is a square that should be able to go in to the T-slot here and be able to locate the 90 degrees, which is where you're almost always going to want the cross slide to be positioned in order for the top measurements to really make sense. You'll want to have this 90 and then just change the top slide, which you loosen with these screws here. Loosen and tighten. One on each side. There is a lot of backlash here. Zero backlash that I can see for the top portion. Oops, let me tighten it. And so from here to here is backlash. Pretty fair amount. Alright, turn the lathe around to show a few things, and this right here I'm going to assume is something that you turn to remove the headstock, but how that works going down that way is a mystery to me. That'll be interesting to find out. Notice there's another T-slide running across the back. I've seen some, at least one accessory I know that can run in this. I'm sure you could imagine taper gauge and things like that. This is the lever that tightens and loosens to move the tailstop. Moves quite freely. Locks quite securely. And this tightens the coil itself. It seems to hold it pretty darn securely. It has about this much backlash. Now, as I said, I'd never heard of an Ames lathe before, but that is pretty obviously the same style of logo, and it is in fact the BC Ames, Bravo Charlie Ames, from Waltham, Massachusetts, that makes some of the antique dial indicators that I own. Apparently they didn't produce a lot of them in a run, per year I should say, but one of their main customers was Starrett Toolmaking. And this information is all from the site. I'll put a link on screen for where all of my knowledge of these things comes from, basically. And yeah, so I figure if they can sell to Starrett, that's a pretty good endorsement for me. The spindle bore of mine is 5/8 inch. So apparently there was a 1-inch version of this as well. So that would certainly have been nice to have gotten a 1-inch through bore, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. Now these collets, one of the first things I'm going to do is to be cleaning up these collets and other fixtures, not for the head and the tailstock, to find out whether it's a proprietary, and I believe it is. I think someone mixed up some 3C stuff in here and it's not quite right. And similarly for the tailstock, it's darn close to a Morse 1, but I don't think it is, and I'll show you why. Alright, this center I believe is original to the machine, and it fits perfectly. That taper. It really seems, my eye can't see where this is anything but parallel, so one would think that this is the same taper as this. However, this is touching further back inside of the spindle, and it has wiggle room up front. Conversely, when I take, this is an adapter that takes a Morse 1 to a Morse 2, and it fits this fella just fine. So I believe this chuck was something somebody added, but it doesn't actually fit. This is a Morse 1. And this fellow has wiggle. Only in the case of this guy, it seems to grab up top here and wiggle back here. So that tells me that by the slightest, teeniest hair, this is a wider taper than a Morse 1. So that's going to, be challenging to work with. We'll do the best we can. Similarly, one of these collets has the Ames imprint. Others do not, and I have a feeling they're 3C collets, and I will bet that if I can really do some close comparisons, I will find some slight differences. In fact, there's a height difference right there. So, yeah, I think somebody mixed in some 3Cs, and then, there are maybe 1 or 2 proprietary tapered collets. So that's also a challenge, if I'm correct. I found on the interwebs dimensions for a 3C, which I'll compare to this. Pretty sure it'll come out to be correct. And according to that information, this is a 12-degree taper right here. And according to that same website, the Ames collets have an 11-degree taper right here. So that you get down to the difference between 11 and 12 degrees. It's going to be, I'm going to have to get creative to measure that, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to find a difference there. The threads appear to be the same, which is good. That makes me believe that no one actually screwed up the draw tube by trying to pull the wrong size collet in. Now I really hope that this this attachment right here is the proper Ames and not a 3C, because this will allow me to actually, you know, use the lathe right away, assuming it's correct. So a couple of things tell me that this is not the original configuration of the drive shaft. Now I'll put in some pictures of from the web of some different arrangements that people have, the factory arrangements, and also what I guess are sort of homegrown solutions. But looks to me like someone had a motor directly running to this pulley with a regular V-belt, and the fact that this is a small pulley means that this thing was moving very quickly. And since they put some kind of tape on this particular step of this cone and a similar type of tape or whatever this gunk is here on this step of the actual headstock, that tells me they were probably running from here to that, and you know, that's not right. This should be flipped around, but and also the fact that this is larger in diameter than that, again, increases the speed factor. So somebody ran this pretty fast, regularly, and I hope they didn't run it too much. It doesn't seem to have any play in the spindle, so I hope they didn't damage it. But they ran it fast, for sure. And what I'm going to do, if you look at Rob's video, he made an arrangement which is essentially a cage that holds a motor that runs the V-belt up to the cone pulley, and this would be on the back of the lathe, by the way. And that whole assembly is on one hinge, so the weight of the pulley, the motor, and everything is pulling it down that way, and running the belt from this cone to that cone. Simply the weight of all the apparatus is what tensions it, and it's simple, elegant, and I like it, and that's what I intend to copy for this lathe. Another item I was glad to get is this freehand graver's rest, or tool rest, that can go on the bed in place of the cross slide. Has a T-slot, so it can mount just with using the same apparatus here. Just pull the cross slide off, put that on. So that's nice to have. And I think you could some folks bought this lathe with just that. So it's the fact that I've got this cross slide is significant. This is great to have right there. A noticeable missing feature on my particular lathe is index holes around the step cone here. All the pictures that I've seen of other Ames lathes, number 3 bench lathes, have those holes, and there is an arm with a spring-loaded pin that comes off of here, and you can use that for doing indexing. So I am not sure I would ever have a need of indexing, but if I did, it wouldn't be that difficult a project to put this on the mill. I have an indexer, and I could drill holes around and then make a little attachment for it. But that's something ambitious way down the line. I don't think it's anything I need to be concerned about right now. That's my little tour of the lathe as it has come to me, and that frees me up to go ahead and start cleaning some things up. If there's anything I didn't show that you'd like to see, shoot me a comment. And now I'll tell you the story of how it came to be in my shop. And I know that's boring to a lot of people, so feel free to sign out now. So, about 4 years ago, I was watching one of Mr. Pete's videos. I don't know if it was new at the time or not. I'll have to go back and look. But he was showing an Elgin and telling the story of it and how that company broke off from Hardinge and started manufacturing their own lathes. And he's describing the features. It's a very similar type thing. Collet closer, very precise cross slide, everything. It's this type of lathe. And he said, yeah, I'm showing this because I'm going to sell it, and just wanted to demonstrate some attributes. And it's just not really my cup of tea. And I left him a comment saying, wow, that's too bad you don't live near me, because that is certainly my cup of tea. And so that was 4 years ago. And the other day, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, someone replied to that comment. And this person said, well, I got one just like it in Tennessee if you want to come pick it up. And I immediately responded and said, well, let's talk. And so we exchanged emails and texts, and then got to talking on the phone and whatnot. And it turns out this gentleman lives out on the western end of Tennessee, and I'm on the eastern end of Virginia, and I calculated it would be about 11 and a half hours for me to get to him. So I'm really, really interested in it. I'm just not sure when I'm going to be able to make that trip, just because of work and family and things. So we were talking, and I was investigating, shipping it. Like, he didn't want to ship it. He didn't want to make a crate or anything for it, and I said, well, let me consider making a crate, shipping the crate to you, and then paying the shipping back. And it was cost prohibitive from what I could figure out. There's probably better options, but it was looking like $300 both ways. So anyway, we're just talking, and then I find out that he has an Atlas 12, and somewhere along the lines he said, yeah, I'd love to find the cast iron legs from my Atlas 12. I'd give a vital organ for the cast iron legs from my Atlas 12. And it just so happened I had a pair of those. They actually had come from an Atlas 10, but I'm positive that they will bolt right up to the 12, or that they will look correct if he puts an intermediary bench top between them. So I shot him some pictures of what I had. And he was very, very excited about those. So much so that he said, well, let's meet in the middle. So that's what we did. We met in Bristol, which is a town that crosses the Tennessee and Virginia border. There's a state street that runs down the town. You walk across one side of the street, you're in Tennessee, and the other side you're in Virginia. We met there. I was able to talk my wife into coming along so we could use her car, which I trust a lot more than my old truck. We went out there, met him about noon, and he was happy as he could be. I was happy as I could be. It was all right. I was very, very pleased to be able to make that kind of a trade where everybody walks away happy. So that's how this wound up in my shop, and I'm very excited and pleased to have it. And that gentleman, I won't give his name because I didn't get permission from him, but he's a good guy. I wish we'd had more time to talk. He's a sheriff's deputy out in Tennessee, and he promised to send me pictures when he gets those legs set up with his lathe, and I promised I would send him some pictures when I start cleaning this lathe up, and I will certainly do so. So just say thanks again to him. If he gets a chance to watch this video, I'll send a link. Thanks to Rob for doing a video specifically to show me his power arrangement. And thanks to all y'all for watching.